Right, here we are at the Parish Church of St Edward the Confessor, and it's Leek's only medieval church, dedicated to Edward, who was King of England between 1042 and 1066, an Anglo-Saxon king and saint. Now, I only stopped in Leek for a coffee, really, on my way home, and I thought I'll have a wander around the church, but I'm glad I did. I found so much out about it since. It's took me a while to research it all. The original Norman church was burnt down in 1297 and rebuilt over the next century, and much of this 14th century building remains, including the rose windows. And much of the church's appearance reflects a 19th century restoration, which was done in 1847, and it's in a Victorian Gothic revival. In the churchyard I found these two early medieval Saxon Preaching Crosses, or high crosses, which are grade 2 listed. Now these high crosses are frequently heavily decorated and were erected in a variety of locations in the 8th, 9th and 10th centuries AD. They are found throughout northern England, with a few examples further south. The high crosses have shafts supported carved cross heads, which may either be free-armed or infilled with like a wheel or disc. Now this so-called Mercian cross is part of an Anglo-Scandinavian cross, only 2 metres to the south of the church. Now the shaft stands on a socket stone measuring 3 foot square, and it's carved from a single block of millstone grit. The shaft is rectangular in section, and it stands to a height of about 6 foot and has been repaired. And the 4 sides of this shaft are divided into panels of decorations containing ornamental patterns, including interlaced platework and other patterns. Now the second monument is located only 35 foot east of the church and is another Anglo-Scandinavian cross thought to date from the 9th or 10th century. And this also includes a socket stone and the shaft and part of the cross head. Now the socket stone is roughly square and a little bit larger than the previous stone. And set into this is a stone shaft of a cylindrical section at its base, which tapers upwards to an 8-inch wide collar or band, and below this collar the shaft is ornamented with like pendants of scroll work, whilst the collar itself is decorated with a band of interlace, and above that the shaft continues to taper and becomes a rectangular section. The upper part of the shaft is divided into 4 panels, which are decorated with scrolls, interlace and fretwork. The top of the shaft is narrow to form like a distinct neck, and above that it broadens to form like a boss, which represents the remains of the cross head. The full height of the cross is 9 foot, very well preserved. Another interesting discovery I found out about the church, apart from the double sunset, which I'll get to later. Now this discovery came about when a new central heating system was to be installed, probably over 10 years ago, and someone was removing ashes and rubbish from the floor of the boiler room, which is below the vestry underground, and he discovered a hole which had been filled in with debris. Now this hole led to a tunnel which can be descended by a pair of ladders, then you have to ascend up into the tunnel itself. It's dated to the 18th century, when the burial vaults were still being used, but could be way older. Cromwell's time, as a suspicion. So over time the tunnel must have been filled in and forgotten about. And since the church had been extended, the tunnel exit is beneath the altar inside the church, and it appears to be covered by stone slabs. Now originally it would have been outside the church before the extension, and it does make you wonder whether it was some sort of escape route out of the church. And it's also been speculated that the tunnel extend further as the end of it has been bricked up. Like I mentioned earlier, it is known that a wooden church would have stood on this site back in the 1100s, probably previous. So it does beg the question as to how many more secrets are waiting to be discovered at this location, and how long does the site go back. Now looking at the tower of St Edward's Church, you can see the clock, which seems to be offset. And according to legend, it was Oliver Cromwell, who I mentioned earlier, fired a cannonball from his gun hill, which is fairly close to the town of Leek, and according to the story the cannonball struck the tower, so to camouflage the hole they used the clock, which explains why it's offset. Now I did read that Cromwell was in the area because he bombed Biddulph Hall, and he used his large cannon which he had at the time, and it was called Roaring Meg, so perhaps there is some truth in this tale. Now this double sunset, I'd say it's one of Staffordshire's most notable curiosities, and it used to be from the churchyard of St Edward the Confessor over the moorlands, but the tree growth is restricting it now. And as I said before, the present church dates from the 13th century, and there are references to a building on the site, probably Anglo-Scandinavian period, that was destroyed by fire. The immediate area has never been excavated, so there's no direct evidence in the form of artifacts. But there is a high probability that the hilltop on which the church stands may have been in use as a neolithic venerated place of worship 3,500–4,000 years ago. Way before building of the church, obviously. Further little bit of evidence is that a name of a house, an old house nearby called Foxlow. Now the place name Low is commonly used in the local moorlands to identify prehistoric sites, barrows and burial mounds, which are usually on hills. And there are also many records describing Neolithic finds elsewhere in the vicinity. Now this phenomenon of the double sunset was first noted by Dr. Robert Plott's book, The Natural History of Staffordshire, in 1686, where he described how the sun was observed from Leek Church on Midsummer's Day to set behind a hill called the Cloud, then to reappear and set again on the horizon of the Cheshire Plains. The Cloud is still a distinctive landmark today. It's not the same as it was in Plott's day due to quarrying in the early 19th century. And millennia ago, thousands of years ago, the sun would have probably been half a degree higher in the midsummer sky, and at the solstice it set just clipping the top of the hill, which would have interested the Neolithic. As we can see from the alignments and orientations of many Neolithic tombs and monuments, our ancestors had a strong knowledge of the cycles of the sun, moon, due to their reverence for astronomy. They knew more than we thought they did. And 4,000 to 5,000 years ago saw the construction of groups of monuments within so-called sacred landscapes, and the location of the church may indicate an actual sacred landscape. And the procession of this natural alignment is said to be better than the famous midsummer sunrise above the Eelstone at Stonehenge. And the alignment also matches the deliberate orientation towards the midsummer sunset at Arbour Low, 15 miles from Leek. And 4,500 years ago, the midsummer sun had some alignment over the Bridestones, an even older neolithic barrow close by, which I have visited and done a video of. Now personally, I find it hard to believe that this long forgotten alignment is a coincidence, as is often stated, as it's typical of those in Neolithic sacred landscapes. And this parish church in Leek seems to occupy a very special place, which is obviously why the Christians placed it there. They had a knack for that. And according to calculations, eventually, after about AD 2500, the sun will not reappear beyond the cloud as it does now, having once set on the summit due to the ongoing reduction in the Earth's tilt. And this double sunset will then cease to be visible from the churchyard for more than 10,000 years. Probably be visible somewhere close by, I don't know, I'll have to look into that. Right, I come across this market cross in the middle of the town. It's possibly from the 13th century, like a fluted shaft on a stepped base, and it's raised on a later quadrant base. It's got a Maltese crosshead. Apparently it used to be in the cemetery, having been removed from the town in 1806, so sometime it's been moved back and being preserved.